Food for thought. Having and mixing your emotions with logic is very hard to make a decision. It is absolutely bonkers because one time or one instance, you are thinking, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z and it'll have this outcome. But then you think emotionally, well, what will happen if X, Y, and Z occur? What will happen with me if X, Y, and Z occurs? And it's honestly trying to figure out that balance is the hardest thing in life. And trying to figure out what to listen to, whether it's your head, whether it's your heart, whether it's something like an intuition. It's really hard. And I don't know what to tell you. Because I think listening to what you think and you should is so personal. Because for somebody who's very feely and who is very in touch and knows their emotions very well, is most likely going to be turned towards making decisions with their emotions and trusting their emotions. But then with the analytical person, they will specifically think through and deliberately plan ahead and just go for it. And then sometimes there's an in-between in which I just want to be like this, but anyways, between that person who knows what they want, but also has that emotional, intellectual part, and that's hard. And I was listening to Mel Robbins, of course. I don't know, I recently just got into her podcast of just like listening, and I was like, I don't really get the hype of her, but she's a very interesting woman, to say the least. But she was saying that your 20s are the hardest. That the 20s are the hardest because, I promise I'm getting to a point. The 20s are your hardest because all throughout your life, you are used to having certain agendas, certain things that you have to complete, and you have a metric, a measurement of how successful you are. Oh, I get this grade. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, me and so are doing great. Oh, we're studying together. Oh, we're able to move forward and have progress together. And it's a community. But then after you get into like the real world, everybody makes their own decision. Everybody has their own path. And no one knows what they're doing. And it's very daunting. But the point of that is that when you are intertwining, intermingling, connecting your thoughts to your feelings, to your intuition, to your decisions, that's hard. That I remember barely remember to turn that down. So I hope the quality is a little better now. Sorry, I just remembered. I was just like flowing, like, I don't know. I really don't know. But then I was like, shoot, I had that same problem yesterday of the bad quality. Anyways, I hope that's okay. I usually do it differently, but I just remember now, so I'm hoping that'll fix it. Anyways, sorry, this is really dark. Anyways, we're just gonna go with it. Anywho, Mel Robbins, yes. It was just very interesting to think about the perspective of everybody has their own path and their own reason. And there's not a right or wrong way to go about it. But when you're in your 20s, I'm currently in my 20s, and I don't know what I'm doing. And it's taken me this entire semester, this past school year, probably like in October, I was like freaking out of what am I gonna do? What am I doing? So it probably wasn't until like last month, this month, I've been like chill about it. And you just gotta flow. You really do. And you gotta roll with the punches. Roll with the punches. That's a that's a deep one if you think about it, because life's gonna throw a bunch of punches at you. And they hurt. They leave sometimes external bruises, but a lot more internal bruises that make you definitely tougher. And I think we try, at least I try, very guilty of that, to avoid the punches of life. I really do. Because I'm like, no, man, I'm just trying to vibe. But life is gonna get you. Life is gonna humble your butt real hard if you're too high-horsed. But it's just life, and life is gonna knock you down. It really does. But at the same time, you have gotten through it this far. And honestly, even if you don't think your decisions are right or wrong or anything in between, that's okay. Because sometimes you logically know, I should get this done, but then your emotions are like, no, don't get this done. But what I found, it was so interesting because yesterday I was listening to this podcast and it was by Ali, I think that's how you pronounce the name. He's like British, someone from the UK, I'm London, I think. Anyways, he was a medical doctor, but then he left and has his own podcast and motivational, he's like the person that's like best well known for self-discipline. Anywho, he interviewed this person and he was like, the reason why you procrastinate is because you don't like that feeling that is associated with that task. And so if you don't like doing that task and you have bad emotion to it, you're not going to do it. And the same thing goes for people in the workplace. If you have to do a task and you don't like it, then you're not going to do it as best as you potentially could. So for example, there's a study done, he said, like the dude he was talking to. I'm just, don't shoot the messenger. That's just what I heard. He said that there's a study done with a group of kids, okay? They were allowed to leave school until they wanted to return. And so they left for about 6 months. And then they came back. They came back with a fervent desire, yearning to learn. And they learned faster and quicker than any of these other kids that were there, also just like learning by force. And so what I'm saying is that you do things to the best of your ability, as much to the depth that you are interested in. And so when you are deciding emotionally, logically, what is the best thing to do? Sometimes your actions are impacted by the way you feel about that choice, the way you feel about that emotion. And so then you logically connect those emotional ties to what the outcome is that you produce or that you choose. So he said, the guy was like, I don't even remember. I just remember him saying he had a lot of childhood trauma or something. And every time he drove by that house, he felt that same trauma. But when he decided to go drive by that house and he wanted to feel those emotions and he wanted to, that emotion of trauma and that despair went away. But then as soon as he drove over there to get rid of that emotion, to get rid of that trauma, he was like, I feel those feelings again. I am not wanting that thing for a means to move forward, a means to continue my growth. And the same thing goes for kind of like going back to the workplace. He said that one of his employees did not like doing one of the tasks that she was tasked or responsible to do. And so she thought it was going to take 3 days. But then once him and his employee sat down, they busted it, they finished it within a few hours. And that's the thing. The mental decision that you make connects to your emotions. And your emotions connect to the mental decisions that you make. Because the way you feel is the way you act. And the way you act is a representation of how you feel. And it's kind of very much mind-boggling. I was gonna say bind-boggling, but mind-boggling. And that's all I can really say, is that yes, you might feel lost. Yes, you might not know what the next decision or choice or the right thing that you should do next is. But be in touch with your emotions to understand, am I actually logically thinking this way? Or am I letting my emotions dictate my decisions? Food for thought.